YouTube, it's your boy FPLK man, and I'm back with a brand new video. And today I've got for you my Game Week 32 team review, as well as my Game Week 33 team selections and some transfer plans. I'm going to be discussing which are the best assets to buy for double Game Week 33. Should you buy Saka? Should you buy KDB? I also have a free hit 33 draft, which I know some of you might be on free hit for 33. And I'm also going to look at the RobT FPL's projected goals as well as the clean sheet odds to help you guys decide what is the best chip to use and what players to target. So without further ado, let's dive in. There you have it. I'm finally back on track with a small green arrow. My old rank was 688 in the world. Now I'm 637. I will take that absolutely, considering the fact that my bench boost was a complete disaster. My goodness, I've been playing FPL for the last 45 years, and I've never had this much of a low score on a bench boost. Nico Williams lost clean sheet. Doucouré last minute goal, banger. These Everton boys have been killing me this season. I mean, Tarkovsky, when I had my Amchip active on slot, he scored a last minute banger. Now Doucouré to wipe out that clean sheet for Forest. And then you got Konate conceding a dumb goal, Robertson on goal, ridiculous. Only got 2 points. And I also transferred in Soboslai. I cannot believe I bought in Soboslai, but it was one of those transfers on the deadline day. If you were tuning in, I honestly panicked. I didn't know who to replace Cliver with. So I just thought, okay, the next best option may be to go with Soboslai because he's nailed and the fixtures are good with West Ham, Leicester, and Spurs coming up. But that was shocking because he ended up getting benched. He had a 14 consecutive starts just to for him to get benched. In the week, I'm bench boosting. Unbelievable. And then you've got, of course, Jacob Murphy, who I did bring in by selling Gordon. Those are the two big mistakes I made on wildcard, as I discussed in my last video, was picking Gordon and Clivert, who were injured on my wildcard. If I didn't pick them, for example, if I had Murphy from game week 30, I would be living it right now. I mean, he's got what, like 50 or something points in the last 3 weeks. It's ridiculous. And then, of course, Isak, a lot of people triple captain him. He only got 11 points, so I'm not too mad with that. His EO is actually 225%, so when he did score, it hurt me rather than help me. So I'm not too mad that he only got 2 returns. He could have easily got more. Newcastle scored like, 10 goals in 2 games? Insane for him to only get 2 returns. So I'm not complaining. I will take that. And my differential, of course, Trippier finally paid off. He got 12 pointer. Really pleased with him. That's, I think, somewhat helped my rank as well and minimize that bench boost disaster. So still can't complain too much. Pretty happy with that to get a green arrow. Bench boost was a flop, but you can't win everything. So now let's look at the best players to buy for Game Week 33 double. So for double Game Week 33, as you guys can see, there's a list of players that we're obviously looking at, the likes of KDB versus Saka. I know if you're transferring in players, you might not be able to bring in 2 players. You might want to bring one of Saka or KDB. And as you guys know, Palmer has been quite disappointing. I mean, I didn't touch on it in the last slide, but he only got 1 return versus Ipswich, which is not good enough. I mean, if you went with Saka on wildcard 30, Saka actually outscored him, Palmer, by 1 point, even though Saka didn't start a single game, whereas Palmer did, most of the games. So Palmer is out. I mean, his fixtures are not too great moving forward anyways, and I don't want him anymore, to be honest. He doesn't justify the price tag. So I'm personally looking at, for example, KDB or Saka. Obviously, Saka got 84 minutes. I think he got like 75 or 80 something minutes around in the Champions League versus Madrid. So he played quite a decent minutes, right? And then the Ipswich game is in 3 days. So it's a bit of a quick turnaround in 33. So I think when Neri starts that game, so Saka has a bit of an X-minute doubt for that Ipswich fixture. So you're only getting him for Palace. And the way Palace are conceding goals, I mean, Muniz end up with -1, as you guys saw in a double. So maybe that's the fixture you target with Saka. And listen, I think Saka and KDB both are a buy, especially Saka because he's so explosive. And even if he starts one of these 2 games, I think he's still a buy. However, I think there's a caveat. If you are navigating 34, I don't think he's a buy. And if you're looking to free in 36, I think KDB is a better buy than Saka due to the fact that KDB, if you look at his fixtures, he doubles in 33 and then he plays Wolves in 35 and he's got Southampton in 36. Not only that, he could also double in 36. For Arsenal, you can't say the same. Now, if I was to lean one way, I think if I get a leak come the deadline on Game Week 33 on Saturday, I mean, I think City are early kickoff and we get news that obviously KDB starts, I think I'll most likely go for KDB. If I had to choose between the 1 or 2, I'd probably go for KDB. However, if you're on free hit or if you have the luxury transfers, I think if you can get both, just get both, I think, regardless of leaks or not. In regards to Saliba versus Kiwior, I think I prefer Saliba if you have the funds. If you don't have the funds, you can go for Kiwior if you want to. And then you got Foden versus Savio. I think they're both no-go personally. They're both rotation risks, and I think Foden is not even available. So I know some people own Foden. Now the question is, do you sell him? I think you wait for the press conference. We'll see what Pep says, as well as leaks to see if he starts. If he doesn't start, then I think the switch to KDB does make sense. Or if you don't have Saka, if you prefer Saka, you go to Saka. And then Guardiola, I do think is a buy. And I think if you don't have him, if you are on free hit 34, I think you definitely buy him this week. However, if you're not on free hit, potentially not a buy, because there may be other defenders that you probably like that don't blank in 34. For example, you could go for the likes of Kanate. Obviously, Bradley are option, but Trent is back in training, so I'll probably say Kanate or Van Dijk in that sense. And then you got Odegaard versus Merino. I think the best player to buy from that Arsenal team is Saka, and Merino is a punt in my opinion. I personally don't think he starts both games again, but you can say that for any players, especially those who are in Europe. And then you got Mateta, and then you got Eze versus Sarr. From Palace, I would have Mateta 1 and Sarr 2 if I was to buy right now, if I already didn't have one. And if I was to look for defenders, obviously it's Munoz only. And then you got Rodgers versus Rashford versus Watkins, which is the big dilemma for a lot of people on free hit, as well as those who want to invest into Villa because they're out of the Champions League now, which is a good investment. I personally prefer Rodgers because he starts every single game, simply because of X minutes, and his output also has increased as recently. Whereas Rashford, I think, is my second favorite because he's on pens, and Emery came out and said he's number one in terms of taking pens. And Watkins is probably my least favorite simply because he hasn't started any games in the last 4 or 5 games, and in the big games he's getting benched. I'm not sure if he's injured or what's going on over there, but it does seem like Emery prefers Rashford to play striker over Watkins, which is crazy. So if I had to pick filler mids, I would go Rodgers 1, Rashford 2, and probably Asensio 3rd. And then you got Konza versus Martinez. I probably prefer Martinez. I wouldn't say the Villa defenders are a buy, but if you're looking to bench boost and you're on free hit 34, it does make sense why you want to include them or why you want to invest in them. So I'll probably say Konza, and he's been doing well recently as well. And then you got which I discussed already, Bradley versus Konate. I'll probably say Konate if you're navigating 34. And then you got Luis Diaz versus Bowen versus Mbemo, which is the best single game week assets should you buy. And I would not be shocked if this single game week assets do outscore the likes of doublers, for example. It could be Saka or KDB. I wouldn't be shocked if Luis Diaz goes out there and outscores him because he does play Leicester and Bowen does have Southampton. So these assets could very well outscore the double game weekers, and I wouldn't be shocked. And then Mbemo has a really nice fixture in Brighton as well. In terms of who do I prefer, I think I prefer Bowen if you're navigating 34 because you get a really good fixture in Southampton at home and then you go Brighton away. And my second favorite would be probably Luis Diaz. But I do think there's also Liverpool might be on the beach if they do wrap up the league come game week 34 where they play Tottenham. I think that's when they'll probably mathematically win the league if they do beat Leicester as well as Tottenham. So would you want Luis Diaz moving forwards from game week 35 onwards when they might be on beach and they might not try as hard? So probably I would say you got to consider that. So maybe my favorite will be Bowen and Mbemo 1, 2, and then Luis Diaz 3rd. So yeah, that'll be it. Now let's move on to my game week 33 transfer plans. So there you have it. I am looking to transfer out Palmer. He's been horrible, man. Like, I've kept faith in him for so long, kept him for Ipswich, Southampton, Leicester, all these easy fixtures, and he's not really to return big, right? Not for his price tag anyways. And I'm losing value on him every single day. So I have to stop the bleeding somehow. And KDB is a really nice replacement. He came out and said he's feeling really well. For the last 6 weeks, he's not feeling any pain on his, the niggles that he's been carrying. And Pep also said that, it's probably his last season, so they want him to go out on high. So, and if you look at the touch map, like versus Palace, oh my goodness, you could have had so many more returns. Like, he looked so good. He was everywhere playing false 9, and Marmoush was going wide. So KDB is getting into really good positions, especially if Foden is not available right now, where he seems like he's carrying an injury and he's not mentally doing well. Like, who else is going to play that number 10 role, right? Like Gundogan, he's kind of washed. Really, is he going to play number 10? Maybe Bernardo, but they're not as good as KDB when it comes to playing the number 10 position. So I do think he probably gets 2 starts in double, which I hope, but you never know with Pep. But I'm looking to, bringing KDB ahead of Saka. So that'll be my Palmer replacement. And the fixtures looks good, right? Double, which includes Everton and Villa. And you got obviously blank in 34, where I'll probably keep him and navigate that. And then followed up by Wolves and Southampton. I can't complain too much. He's got a really good fixture on moving forwards. So yeah, there's not much to say. Now let's move on to my game week 33 team selection. So there you have it. This is how I'm lining up for game week 33 with Raya, Munoz, Guardiola, and Konate at the back. The defense looks really strong, if I'm being honest myself. I think most free hitters would probably have those 3 assets in the likes of Munoz, Guardiola, and Raya. Konate maybe not. Maybe they'll go for double Arsenal defense. But I do think Konate has a chance to match Saliba. And in midfield, you've got Salah, Sarr, Szoboszlai, and De Bruyne. Szoboszlai is an interesting pick. It's a bit of a differential. It could bang. It could also be a disaster as it was last week. I'm debating whether to start Murphy ahead of Szoboszlai, considering the fact that Murphy is in insane form. But I do see that Villa match being much tougher for Newcastle because they're both battling for top 5. So maybe I give an edge to Szoboszlai simply because I did invest in him by taking a -4 specifically for these fixtures like the likes of Leicester and Spurs. So is this fixtures clouding my judgment? Do I really think Szoboszlai could outscore Murphy? Perhaps not, but I do want to target that fixture Leicester. So yeah, the midfield looks really strong. I mean, a lot of free hitters will obviously have Salah, De Bruyne. They may not have Szoboszlai obviously, but they'll probably have Sarr, maybe not. But they're probably gonna have a Villa mid. But hopefully, Sarr can keep up with the Villa mid, and Szoboszlai can match another doubler. And then you got up front Mateta, Marmoush, and Isak. Isak, look, I think he can match any doubler. He's so explosive and he's such an elite striker. I think he can match any doublers in any given game week. So I'm still happy to hold him. If Watkins was nailed, maybe I would consider bringing in Watkins, but he's not nailed. So I'm pretty happy with the way it's lining up. Perhaps I should have saved my bench boost for this week. My bench does look pretty good considering Verbruggen has Brentford away, Murphy's got Villa away, Nico Williams got Spurs, Trippier's Villa away. Obviously, Villa will probably score, so not good for clean sheet, and Brentford will probably score. So that's one of the reasons why I actually bench boosted in 32, because a lot of my players actually did have a good fixtures for clean sheet. But again, clean sheet is not reliable. So yeah, that's me, done complaining about my bench boost, still going on about it. Overall, the team does look really strong, especially if I bring in KDB. I have 7 doublers, and my single game weekers do play Leicester, like Konate, Szoboszlai, and Salah have Leicester. Like, come on, surely there's returns there, right? They're the worst team in the league. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave your comment down below if you do like this team, or if you recommend that I should maybe go for Saka and why you think I should do that, or who you prefer, as I explained why I prefer De Bruyne ahead of Saka. Unfortunately, I don't have the luxury to afford both Saka and De Bruyne, because that would require for me to take a hit, and I do not want to do that. So yeah, now let's move on to the Game Week 33 best captaincy. So for Game Week 33, as you guys saw in my previous team, that I did have it on Marmoush, but that's not locked in, which I'll go to this slide right here. The reason why I love this slide, by the way, shout out to my boy Benji, aka Thinking Cap. Check him out on YouTube. He does really good videos on captaincy every week. So yeah, shout out to him. He sent me this graphic, and I also, had a podcast with him on the FPL Roundtable yesterday. So make sure to check out the podcast where he did feature and he did show these slides, and we discussed the best captaincy, and we went to detail breakdown. I'll just summarize it for you guys. For me, I think if you want to be safe, right, if you want to use a triple captainship, I do think in Marmoush for minutes, for explosiveness, and set pieces, corners, as well as pens, most likely, I think he'll be on them. He does seem to be the standout option, considering the fact that he also has a double game week. Second option is if you want to be a bit of a differential, take a punt, right, and you want to be, you're chasing, right, or you want to try to win FPL or something like that, right. I do think that a nice shout for a Salah is worth it, considering the fact that Leicester are horrible and Salah hasn't scored in the last 3 or 4 games, right. I think Salah is due a goal, right. Obviously, one could look at it as a negative that he hasn't scored in the last 3, and someone will probably argue there's not Trent, so he's not getting that many opportunities. I still think Leicester are a terrible team, and he could definitely, get 3 or 4 returns in that game. I know it sounds crazy, but he can do that, and we know he's capable of that. And then I would say that another outside shout would be, if you want to be differential, is KDB for captaincy. I mean, come on, this is last season, hurrah! Come on, he might bang. You never know. I got a bit of a feeling that he could do really well as well. But when Marmoush is there with better minutes and pens, it's hard to back against him, right? So listen, I would go like this, right? If I feel risky and if I feel like a bit of a punty and I know KDB is starting, I may go to KDB, or I may go to Salah if I'm feeling a bit risky, depending on how I feel on the deadline day. Do tune into my stream to see that. But for now, as you guys saw in my previous slide, I will have the captaincy on Marmoush. But come the deadline, that could change, right? And if I get a league that De Bruyne starts, maybe that, I get tempted and I actually captain him. So yeah, that'll be my ranking, boys. I think let me know who you're going for captaincy in the comment section below. So yeah, now let's move on to RobT FPL's projected goals as well as clean sheet odds. So as you guys can see, from RobT FPL's, I mean, Arsenal are likely to score a lot of goals. You can see 4.10. They're likely to score like 4 goals in both games. You got City with 3.75, almost 4 goals. So Arsenal and City are definitely likely to score a lot of goals. And the fact that I only have 1 attack from Arsenal does concern me. But if Saka doesn't start Ipswich, I don't see much explosiveness. Although Palace have been quite poor defensively. But again, it will take a hit for me to get there. So I don't prefer that. So I'll recommend, obviously, do invest if you can get Saka as well as KDB. Triple up on City if you can. Villa also are, pretty score like a lot of goals. You go Liverpool. Liverpool, the fact that they have almost the same amount of odds to get goals as Villa is kind of crazy. And I'm happy to own 3 assets from that team. And West Ham, of course, they're Southampton. They also like to score quite a few goals, as well as Brentford. That'll be it for scoring, I guess, a lot of goals if you're targeting players, which I already discussed. I mean, I had Brandon Beemo, Bowen, Diaz, and all these players on the buy list. So depending on who you prefer, definitely go for them. And for clean sheet, obviously Arsenal are up there, City are up there, along with Liverpool, West Ham as well, and Palace. That's the top 5 team. I know a lot of people already have these defenders from the likes of Palace and Arsenal, but obviously if you want to double up, you're more than welcome to do so. So now finally, I'll be showing you guys the best free hit 33 draft. So as you guys can see, for Gameweek 33, this is what I've got. I've got double Arsenal defense with Reyes, Liba, and I got Munoz and Guardiola. I do think Munoz and Guardiola are quite explosive. Although Guardiola has been playing quite, as a centre back recently, but I do think he can still, be a threat from set pieces, just like how Gabriel was. And then you got in midfield De Bruyne, Saka, Rodgers, Salah, and Rashford. Yes, I do think Rodgers and Rashford probably get the most minutes out of Asensio or Marlon or any other midfielders. Tielemans is a nice shot as well if you want to go for more minutes, but I think the explosive lies with Rashford and Rodgers. And in up front, you've got Marmoush and Mateta, pretty standard. The captaincy is on Marmoush, as I said earlier. This team, the strength about this team is the fact that you can have 2 Villa and you could have Saka and double Arsenal defense on free hit, and you don't have to carry them over. I think that's the advantage of a free hit. So those who are on free hit, I do see the vision. But my thing is that I don't think Villa has the best fixture on paper for lots of goals. At the same time, I would say with Saka, I don't think he starts both games. So that'll be the downside. But if they do play both games, the likes of Saka and Rodgers and Rashford, this free hit could absolutely destroy me. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and make sure to leave a like, comment down below whether you're on free hit, whether if you're bench boosting or using a triple captain's chip. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and tune to the deadline stream. I'm going to see you guys next week. Peace out.